Okay, so this is how to sew on a centered zipper. The items that you're going to need for this sample are your instruction sheet, a zipper that we're also going to shorten, 2 pieces of fabric that are at least 4 inches wide by 10 inches long, a zipper foot, a pen or a pencil or a marking tool, and 2 pieces of interfacing. So sometimes we buy a zipper and it's too long because that's the only color that we can have. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to shorten a zipper. And if you take a look at your instruction sheet, it's going to tell you to adjust your machine setting to a wide regular zigzag at a stitch length of 0. Then you're going to sew over top of your teeth, not directly on your teeth, but over top of your teeth multiple times to create a new zipper stop. So this is a great option. And what you guys are going to do is you're going to measure down on your zipper 5 inches or 6 inches, pardon me. So you're going to measure down from the very top of your zipper tab, which is right there. So from the top of here down 5 inches, and I want you to make a mark. Now we're just doing 5 inches just for sake, just for random. Okay. And let's make ourselves a mark. Okay, so now I have a mark at my 5 inches. Now I need to make my zigzag. So I'm going to place my zipper underneath my presser foot. So that the teeth are directly in the center of my presser foot, and I'm going to adjust it to a 0C0. So you might want to write that down in your instructions. Now, when you see my needle, it's going to go over to the one side and then come directly over to the other side of my teeth. And I'm going to do that about 4 or 5 times. We want to make sure that the zipper pull, the new zipper stop is going to be sturdy. And then you're going to lift up your presser foot and pull it out. Don't cut your threads too short because I'm going to show you what you have to do next. So the next step is to take our threads and we want to pull them to the back because we want to make sure that this isn't going to go anywhere. Okay, so you can, actually we can just tie them at the back. So take your thread here and here and tie them into a double knot. Oops. So, and one more time. And then do the same to the front. Okay? So now we're ready to figure out where our zipper is going to go. Now that we've got it all tied off, we can cut it, and I would cut about 1 inch below. Don't cut too close to the zipper pull, otherwise that zipper pull might come undone. And it's okay if we have a little bit extra hanging down. So the next step is we're going to need to measure where our zipper is going to go. So we want to take a look on our fabric and we want to measure where our zipper is actually going to go, and then we're going to place our interfacing. Okay. So here it says, if your fabric is very shiny, slippery, soft, or thin, apply a strip of lightweight interfacing to the zipper area before preparing the seam. But I suggest that we always apply an interfacing. It's going to allow the product to be much better. So here's my fabric again that I'm going to be using. And I know my zipper is 5 inches long. So I want to make sure I'm applying a piece of interfacing that's longer than 5 inches to both sides. So here's my interfacing, and I've applied it a little bit longer, which is fine. The next set of instructions now say, now sew a 1.5 centimeter wide seam. Start with a base stitch. Do not base stitch at the top. Do not back stitch. Stop where the zipper will end. Then you're going to change your stitch length back to a regular and back stitch. So if you take a look at this diagram right here, what it's showing you is we need to first of all mark where our zipper is going to end, and where that zipper is going to end, which is typically where your dot is on your pattern. We want to then back stitch at that area because we don't want it to be a base stitch where our zipper is ending. So I'm going to show you how we're going to prepare our piece of material for that. So here's our piece of material. I'm going to line up the top of my zipper at the top of my material, just like this. Okay? You want to make sure it's the top of the zipper. Here's my end point where I shortened my zipper. And now I'm going to make a mark where that end point is. Because we don't want the zipper tab to show because that doesn't look very nice. So I'm going to make a mark. And I kind of make my mark just a little bit above where my zipper tab is going to go. Because my zipper is being placed at the top end and I'm going to want that zipper to open, I want to make sure I'm just basting from the top of my material to my mark that I've created where my zipper is going to be. And that base stitch is a 5A4. Once I reach my mark, I'm going to change my stitch length to a 2.5 and then back stitch here and then stitch down to the bottom of my seam. So using a 1.5 centimeter seam allowance, exactly like our pattern has asked us to do, I'm going to start with a base stitch. So I'm not back stitching. And here I'm coming up to my mark. And as soon as I reach my mark, I'm going to change my stitch length to 2.5. I'm going to go forwards 3, backwards 3. And I'm going to continue to the end. Because this end part is the bottom of our skirt. And back stitch again. So here's my base stitch, right into here. You can see it's a little bit longer. And then there is my regular stitch. So now it says press the whole seam and seam finish the sides. Be careful not to trim your seam allowance if you use your serger. For the sample, you do not need to seam finish. So if I was doing this on my skirt, we would actually seam finish it afterwards because it's going to be easier. And now we're just going to press it open and move on to where we're going to place our zipper. So you want to make sure that this is pressed open because that's where your zipper is going to lie. So you're going to go to the ironing board and you're going to press this guy open. Okay. Nice and open. There we go. Now it says, open the zipper and place it face down against the seam where it is basted, keeping the zipper teeth against the seam. Pin one side to the seam only. So here is my zipper, and I'm going to place it face down so that you're not actually going to see the teeth. When we line it up, we want to make sure that the zipper teeth are going to be directly in the center of our seam. If it's off to a side, it's not going to sit properly in our seam. So We're going to place it down right in the center. Some of yours will line up to the side seam, some of them won't, but keeping the zipper in the middle is important. And now we're going to pin it. And you're going to pin one side. Now it said to open up the zipper teeth, but for now I'm just going to keep it closed because I think sometimes that's easier to pin. Okay. So I like to pin in that direction because that's how I'm going to be sewing it. Keeping that zipper in the center, pinning the next side. Okay, keeping that zipper. So you're always checking that zipper. And you're only pinning the one side. So you should be able to see that interfacing on both sides. Okay, so now I've done the one side. And now I'm going to sew, and I'm just going to baste from the top of my zipper all the way down. And you can baste further than you need to, and I would do that. But we're going to need our zipper foot for that. So this is our zipper foot, and it allows us to get really close to the teeth without stitching onto the teeth. So we're going to take our regular foot off, and we're going to place our zipper foot onto the left-hand side. Just like that. Okay, and we're ready to stitch. Now we've got our zipper in the middle, in the way. So we want to kind of pull this guy down because we want to avoid stitching over that. All of my material is off to the side. And again, I'm just going to baste it. Don't back stitch, you don't need to. We're just holding our zipper in place right now. And here you can see that the side of my zipper tab, or my zipper foot, is lined up right with my teeth. Okay, now I'm coming back close to the zipper pull. Put your needle in the down position, lift up your presser foot, and you're going to be able to pull your zipper back up. And close it. And now we're going to finish this guy off. All the way down to the bottom. And again, you don't need to back stitch. So now I've stitched one of my zippers down. Now I'm going to do the same to the other side. And on the other side, you're going to have to start from the bottom. And you're also going to want to pin it. So do one side and then the other, still making sure that those teeth are going to be in the center of your seam. Okay, so now I'm ready to sew. So I'm coming up to my zipper tab. I'm going to lift it up. Make sure your zipper tab is always facing up, and then I can push it down. And sometimes I use my scissors and I grab that tab and I kind of push it down and out of the way. But what I forgot to do was leave my needle in the down position. And just trim your threads. So now I've got my zipper sewn. Now we're ready to finish it off. So from the outside, when I open it, I don't see actually anything except for where my interfacing is, and that's about it. So now you're going to turn the page, and on the next side it says, we've already done that, base the center of the zipper. Step 3, close your zipper and pin the other side to the seam allowance only. We've done that. Base the second side of the zipper past the seam allowance to get past the zipper pull at the top. Make sure the zipper pull is pointed up and push it down. We've done that as well. So now we're on to step 4. and it says flip your fabric over so that you are looking at the right side of the garment. You can center a piece of 1.5 centimeter wide masking tape or Scotch tape over the zipper area to help you keep your zipper even, and I'll show you what that is. Pin beside the tape, making sure that the pins go through the outer fabric and seam allowance and the zipper tape. We're going to change our machine back to a 5A 2.5. So let me just go get the tape, and then I'm going to show you what that's going to look like. So this is the tape that we use, and it's a very thin masking tape. The downside to using this masking tape is that if you stitch through it, it will actually leave the sticky residue into your fabric, and we don't want that. So I'm going to show you how we're going to avoid that. So first of all, take a strip that's a little bit longer than you need, and you want to get rid of some of that stickiness because we never want to leave this on our material overnight. Okay, so if you know you're not going to stitch it right away, don't put this tape on. So just get rid of some of that stickiness. And now we want to put it over top of our seam. And to do that, you're going to start at the top of your material and you're going to place it down. Okay, and you want to roll your tape so that it's right in that center line. Turn off my music there. Okay. So roll it down right so that it's going to be lined up right in that center. And that's going to help you to keep the outer box that we're going to be sewing even on both sides. Good. Well, now we got to figure out where is that end point of our zipper stopper. So when you flip it over, we see our end point of our zipper stopper. We're going to take a pin and we're going to poke it through. And I like to poke it in just a little bit above because we don't want to see that zipper stopper. So I'm just going to poke this needle through to the other side. And that's going to give me a nice mark. And I'm going to place a pin across there, so that when I'm sewing this, I know exactly where I need to stop. Okay. So that's where I'm going to stop. Now, the key is we want to cut our tape higher up than we need to stop, because if we stitch through this tape, it's hard to get that tape out, and it's happened to many skirts in the past. So from now on, I tell everybody, you're going to just snip it just above where you need to come across, and that will help alleviate those problems. All right, so we have changed back the machine back to our regular setting. You're going to back stitch at the beginning. You're going to move your zipper foot to the appropriate side, and you're going to sew beside this tape. And you'll need to move your zipper pull as described above. Pivot at the bottom, and carefully, using your hand wheel, only sew across the plastic teeth. Don't try to use the foot pedal because it's going to be too hard. If your zipper has metal teeth, you will be able to sew. You won't be able to sew across, so you're going to have to move that over by your hand. Pivot at the other side when your needle comes in contact with the outer edge of the tape, and then you're going to sew to the top of your zipper. You may need to pull the zipper pull up or down to make space, and backstitch at the end. We'll trim our threads, remove the tape, and remove our base stitching and try out the zipper. So here we go. So I've got my foot on the correct side. My zipper tab is at the top, so I'm going to need to push that down a bit, and it makes it a bit difficult, but I'm going to push it about halfway down. Okay, about there. So now I'm going to start, and I'm going to start right along here. Now, if you feel more comfortable, you can you can pin that as well. And I'm lining up the inner part of my zipper foot with my tape. You want to make sure you're starting right at the top. If your material is extra stretchy, you're going to want to pin it. Okay, so I'm going to go forward and backwards, and I'm ready to sew. Make sure that there's no bubbles, so you want to kind of hold it nice and firm. And sometimes you might want to iron this ahead of time. So I'm taking a look at where that part is. Needle in the down position is helpful. Now I'm getting close to my zipper pull, so I'm going to need to bring that up. So I'm going to pull it up from the inside. Make sure your needle is in the down position because you're going to have to raise it. If your needle is not in the down position, it's going to go all funny on you. And this is, again, sometimes where you need to use your scissors to help guide this guy up. Okay. You want to make sure it clears the zipper foot entirely. There. Place your presser foot back down, and you're going to continue to stitch. Okay, and you can see I'm getting really close to the end. So I'm going to do a couple more stitches, one more, and now I'm ready to pivot. Okay, so lift up your foot, pivot across. And this is when I like to hand wheel. Oops, because I don't want to break my needle, and I want to know exactly when do I need to pivot again. And as soon as I reach that end part, or the part of my tape, I'm going to lift up and I'm going to pivot again. And now I'm ready to sew the other part. So you can see it wants to sort of ball up on me a bit. So here's my zipper pull at the top. I'm going to want to lower that down again. Pushing that down. And again. Let's pull that guy down. There we go. Closing it down, and now I can finish. And I'm going to go all the way to the top, and I'm going to backstitch. So now I've created the box around my zipper. And I've caught my zipper tape as well as my seam allowance. We want to make sure we're catching all of that. Otherwise, your zipper is going to be floating in the air, and we don't want that. As well, you can see where I stitched across. I'm just above that area. So now your tape comes off, and you get to unpick your base stitching. And just unpick it. And now I have my zipper. So now if we look at it here, you can see, take all those extra threads away. I've got my zipper here, and it folds up nicely in the center. My teeth are directly in that center point, and it moves smoothly up and down. And there is your lap zipper.